told you to quiet down, but now you wear a crown. Visionary queen with a spark.
Welcome to You Matter in Business with Ariel Faith, your brand, your story, and your success, because you matter in your business. Welcome back to You Matter in Business. Last week we talked about why your heart stories convert better than your credentials, and how sharing your real journey creates more connection than listing your achievements. But here's what nobody tells you. There are exactly 6 completely different types of story your business needs. Mixing them up is costing you clients, and you don't even know that you're missing. Most entrepreneurs think telling your story. Most people think it means one thing, usually the polished origin story, how you started your business. So they use it everywhere: websites, social media, networking events, sales conversations, the same story over and over again. And then they wonder why people aren't connecting. Well, it's like if you use a screwdriver to hammer a nail. The tool isn't broken. You're just using the wrong one for the job. Today, I'm breaking down the 6 types of business stories that actually you need, why each one matters, and most importantly, where to use one so you stop confusing prospects and start converting them. The first type of story that most people use and tell is the origin story. This is the one that most people start with after 15 years. I'm going to give you an example, but usually this is the dry part of a lecture. After 15 years in corporate, I realized traditional coaching wasn't serving women who wanted sustainable success, so I founded my practice. Okay, so that's giving you the when and the how and the how long. And okay, so this information works on about pages, speaking introductions, but better when it's in the bio that somebody else reads than your actual words. It's also can be used in networking when somebody asks, how did you get started? That's when that origin story can become important. When it fails is when we use it everywhere else, because origin stories are about your journey, not your client's transformation. They answer what you do and what you did, but not why should I care? So the trap that a lot of people fall in is most business owners thinks that this is the only story. This is the one I hear the most when people say, tell your story. So they use it for everything. The results, you sound impressive, but not relatable. The second kind of story type that I want to tell you about today is the narrative marketing story. Some people refer this as but Don Miller refers to this as the brand story. So this is where your client becomes the hero and you're the guide in a story, in a narrative, where you remember that heart story framework we talked about, and its structure. We've talked about that in the past, and I will go into that a little bit more in the future. But your client has a problem. Just as here, this is the quick wrap up. The client has a problem. Something's blocking them from solving it. They want something. You appear as the guide with a plan, and they follow your guidance and transform, and they get what they need or want, or they don't use you and they stay stuck if they don't change their path. So an example of this might be you're 48, successful on paper, but feeling completely unfulfilled. You're trapped between security of staying and the risk of starting over. As someone who made this exact transition, I guide experienced professionals through proven steps for career reinvention without financial catastrophe. Can you hear the difference? Where these stories work is on your website copy, especially on your main page, on your sales pages, on your email campaigns, in your social media and sales conversations. You're talking about their journey, their challenges, their potential success, not yours. And the third type of story is the guided backstory, the guide's backstory. So that's what we talked about last week when we talked about the heart story. This is where your focus is on the real experiences that prove you can guide others. So this is where your authority comes from as being a good guide. So you have lived, you have walked the path, and you know the way through the forest, right? So this is not, I'm a certified coach with 15 years experience. That is not the story. But something like, 5 years ago, I was exactly where you are, working 70-hour weeks, saying yes to everything, feeling like a fraud. Here's how I learned to build a business that actually supports the life I wanted. Can you hear the difference? And where this works is when you're building trust, when you're your content marketing, in your sales conversations, where credibility matters. Social media that shows your authentic journey. This proves you understand their experience because you've lived it, not just studied it. That makes a very big impact. The key is they aren't around, it's not about how amazing you are. They're about how you overcome the same challenge your clients face right now. And the fourth type of story that I'm going to talk about today is the visual story. Your photos tell a story through whether you plan it or not. So the question is, are they telling the right story? Generic corporate headshots against a white wall, that's a story. It says, I'm professional, but probably just like everyone else. Photos of you actually work with clients, speaking at events in a natural environment. That's a different story. It says, this is how I actually show up and serve. Now, where these work is basically everywhere your photos appear, your website, social media, marketing materials, speaking engagements. And why is this so important? And why is this a common mistake? Because when we use photos that don't align with the messages written, if you write about being collaborative and approachable, but your photos are cold and formal, there's cognitive dissonance to the listener, to the one looking at the images and reading the words. There's confusion, and confusion kills conversion.
Behind the lens, crafting tales and news.
Bring your marketing, your brand to life with storytelling and strategy. Cut through the noise with clear messaging and compelling visuals that resonate with your ideal client. We bring strategy, story, and visuals to help you with your marketing. Visit arieljoyfaith.com and schedule a consultation and see how we can help you bring your brand to life.
Selfies here, just genuine sight. Authenticity in every lie.
Another type of story is the case study. And you might not think of this as a story. We may just think of it as like a testimonial, but think about this. This is the detailed journey of how your process worked for a specific client. Not just, I helped Jennifer increase revenue 200%. That's statistics, right? That's not a story. A real case story includes the specific problem they faced, what was blocking them, your step-by-step process, the challenges you encountered and how you handled them, and the timeline and measurable results. So here's an example of that. When Margaret came to me, she was earning $45K as a trainer, but dreaming of consulting. She was terrified of giving up steady income. And here's the exact six-month process we used, including the mindset blocks we overcame. And you continue the story. This works also on sales pages, proposals, speaking to in a demonstrative, as a expert I can't speak, my mouth is not working, or content marketing. So when we're demonstrating our expertise in speaking, those kind of case stories work good. Now I got that one out. Let's see. So one of the things that this is why these stories are powerful, because it proves your process works in real world with real obstacles. So that is your proof, right? So another kind of story is the social proof story. And this is, instead of you telling the story of your client, this is where your clients tell their transformation in their own words. So here's really where the testimonials fit in. So there is a difference between a case study and a testimonial. Testimonials are emotional, how they felt. Case studies are logical, how your progress worked. So a good testimonial might be something like, working with Sarah changed my relationship with my business. I finally feel excited about Mondays instead of dreading them. She didn't just help me make more money, she helped me remember why I started. So here the difference again in the case study versus a good testimonial. And testimonials are good throughout your website, emails, signatures, social media, sales materials. And the reason or the key that they're important is because they're authentic testimonials sound like real people, not marketing copy. Because you're using real words from real clients. So when we try to integrate all of these story types, how do they work together? Here's what most people miss. These 6 story types work together to create a complete picture of who you are, who you serve, and how you help. You're building initial trust. You lead with guide backstories that show you understand their experience. For marketing and sales, you use the narrative framework where they're the hero. For credibility, you develop case studies that prove your progress or your process. And then for social proof, you collect authentic testimonials and you share them. And the reason why I use the word collect there is because you have to be diligent about this. This isn't something that you just accidentally get usually. Sometimes you do, but usually you have to be pretty proactive when it comes to both case studies, and you need to be documenting to be able to relate these stories for later. And having your clients write their own testimonials or do their own video testimonials, which is even better. But when you're using visuals, your visual story, you need to make sure that you invest in photos that align with your message. This is one of the biggest disconnects I see in marketing out there today. And then for formal occasions, you could use your origin story for the introduction, and it always sounds better when someone else says it for you. So just remember that. If you have a bio to give, let the credentials, all of those those degrees and all those accomplishments come out of the mouth of the person introducing you rather than your own. It will come across to the audience so much nicer. Think about it this way. Your origin story provides context. Your backstory builds trust. Your narrative framework creates urgency. Your case studies prove competence. Your testimonials validate claims, and your visual story supports it all. When you understand how each story serves a different purpose, you can strategically guide prospects through from curiosity to confidence to commitment. So one of the things that having this collection of stories really does is it gives you an experienced professional advantage. If you're building a business from decades of experience, your guide backstory becomes your competitive advantage. Your narrative, career transition, relationship changes, financial challenges, experience that gave you authentic wisdom younger entrepreneurs simply don't have yet, and they need. The key is knowing which story to use when, so your experience becomes an asset that attracts ideal clients. And sometimes it will also do what it's supposed to, which is repel those that you don't want to work with. So here's what I want you to do. Audit your current marketing. Which of these 6 story types are you actually using? Most entrepreneurs overly rely on the origin story and completely underutilize their guide backstory and visual story. Your most powerful stories are often the ones that feel most vulnerable to share. Again, don't therapy dump, but sharing the real experiences that prove you've been where the clients are and you've found a way through. You're not just telling stories for entertainment, you're using strategic storytelling to build trust, demonstrate expertise, and guide ideal clients towards transformation. Each story type serves this mission differently. Make sure you're using the right one in the right places. Next week, we're going to dive into a conversation with Rachel Speckman. She is if you're a woman she's a woman with decades of experience. This conversation is a secret advantage. If you are a woman with decades of experience, join us next week. You matter in business, and all 6 of your stories matter too. See you next episode. After all, it is your brand, your story, and your success, because I know that you matter in business. Thank you for listening to You Matter in Business podcast. Please follow, share, like, and comment. I would love to hear from you. This podcast is sponsored by Ariel Faith Storytelling Marketing and Your Brand Photographer. The show notes provide more information on how to contact Ariel and more information about this episode. Thank you again.
They told you to quiet down, but now you wear a crown. Visionary queen with a spark, lighting up the dark. Rediscover your own fire, chase the dreams that lift you higher. Redefine your role today, brand new in every way. Build your confidence through my lens, break the walls you put up since. Embrace your power, hear your roar. You are meant for so much more. You are meant for so much more.